Hello and welcome to Talking Tullahoma, a weekly podcast recapping the week's news, talking to the news makers, and looking ahead to upcoming events. I'm Kelly Lepchinsky, and today I'm talking to children's book author Rick Vella about his seasonal installment, Christmas Rose. After the interview, stay tuned to hear about events that are on tap in the weeks ahead. But first, here's a look back at the week ending Friday, December 5th. Now, first up, an investigation is underway after two people were killed by a pack of dogs on Wednesday afternoon. No fewer than 7 dogs were involved in the attack at an East Warren Street home, where a 3-month-old girl and her 50-year-old grandfather, James Alexander Smith, were mauled. Now, a neighbor told WKRN News that he'd seen the dogs be violent toward other animals, but this was the first time he'd seen them turn on humans. Brian Kirby's report suggests that the dogs involved belonged to the family. And that appears to be confirmed by a statement released by the DA's office on Thursday. District Attorney General Craig Northcott said any dogs that were actively involved in the attack when police arrived were killed on the scene. Others that had been involved were later euthanized, and any remaining dogs were seized by animal control. Police Chief Chase Sun says there's no immediate indication of criminal activity, but DA Northcutt says the investigation is ongoing to determine whether the attack happened post-mortem and whether the animals had any previous history of violence. Meanwhile, the baby's great-grandmother and 6 additional children were not at home at the time of the attack, and there are now reports that the home has been condemned due to its poor condition. A GoFundMe has been set up to help 3 adult women, 5 young boys, and 1 young girl who now have no home, bed, or place to go. If you'd like to donate, Google "Helping a Family Rebuild" to find the fundraiser. Now, on a happier note, if you have traveled southward on North Jackson Street this week, you may have noticed a new mural on the side of a downtown business facing the London's parking lot. The new artwork is the last of 3 in a series of murals featuring Tennessee whiskey country. And while the mural is indeed nestled right in the heart of the Whiskey Trail, the theme has very little to do with potent potables. The new mural highlights Tennessee's white oak trees, its pollinators, and other symbols of Tennessee, including the state flower, the iris. Now, the honeybee that's featured on the iris is one of Tennessee's official state insects. It was designated the state's agricultural insect in 1990. So don't worry if you thought the state insect was the firefly or the ladybug. You're right on both counts. We also have a state butterfly. The zebra swallowtail was designated in 1995. Now, as with insects, we also have more than one state flower. The iris is the official cultivated flower, but we also have 2 state wildflowers, the passion flower and the Tennessee coneflower. And I bring this up because later in the interview, we get a little sideways on the state tree thanks to the inclusion of the white oak on that mural, but we'll talk about all that a little bit later. Now, while that mural popped up over the Thanksgiving holiday, it's not the only one that's made an appearance in the last month or so. You can see painted hummingbirds, butterflies, and ladybugs in the Robert E. Lee Elementary School courtyard. Like the downtown mural, the one at Robert E. Lee was completed through a Tennessee Arts Commission grant, and it was installed in collaboration with a local nonprofit, Do More Art. Now, another new mural can be found on the side of the Kids Consignment Store at the junction of Country Club Drive and East Hogan Street, a building that, if you've been around long enough, you might remember as Hall's Market. That mural isn't a DMA partnership. The store is just getting a bit of a facelift under new ownership. Now, see, those are just the newest murals. But you can find plenty more in Tullahoma if you take the time to look. They're on each side of the used bookstore, the bookshelf, and right down beside it, leading to the Wall Street Alley, where you'll find the Wisteria Maiden south of Lincoln Street and the Daddy Billy's mural on the north side. There are murals in Fraser McEwen Park, behind the Good Samaritan building, on the Homecraft Cabinetry building, and on the side of hair salons and coffee shops. There's an online map on the Do More Art Facebook page where you can find all of the ones that were commissioned by DMA, including the very first one. Bertha the Octopus graces the Fine Arts Center, which, by the way, hosted a soft opening this week, so we're hoping for more news from that building very soon. Now, speaking of art, country music artist Dustin Lynch returned to Tullahoma on Tuesday for his 10th annual benefit concert at the high school. The school has placed a new plaque outside the auditorium doors in honor of its 2003 graduate, marking the first stage where the Grand Ole Opry member ever performed. Now, on that stage this week, Lynch donated $16,000 to the Bel Air Elementary PTO for an inclusive community playground. And another $16,000 went to Isaiah 117 House, which provides a safe home for children who have been removed from their own homes while they await placement with a foster family. And placement is something that's not going to change this year for the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. 6 months after record-setting rainfall led to the festival's cancellation in 2025, organizers say they're making improvements that will mitigate flooding risks for the 2026 event back on the farm. Now, it's all part of a multi-million-dollar, multi-year plan that began with the 2021 cancellation from Hurricane Ida. Site's operation manager Justin Bilchak reports 3 priorities for the season ahead. And while expanding road access through the campground areas is one of those priorities, turf and stormwater management are the 2 that will seal the fate of the festival. Adding drainage, reinforcing water runoff pathways, and reseeding the property are part of that plan. And even reseeding is going to be different this year. Organizers will replace the existing fescue grass with Bermuda grass. Now, that may not sound like much, but fescue goes into heat shock in the summer, where Bermuda grass thrives on the heat. Organizers are hoping that that means the thirstier grass will absorb any summer rains into its root system. And yes, it is still a summer festival. A poll was taken after the cancellation last year, and attendees made it clear that they want to keep Bonnaroo in June. In 2026, that will be June 11th through the 14th. The official lineup dropped on Tuesday with headliners including The Strokes, Teddy Swims, and Kesha. Now, each year, nationally known West Coast bands like The Strokes make the trek to Coffee County. So turnabouts are fair play when a Tullahoma native takes a trek to Los Angeles to appear on a national game show. Elizabeth Kilgore Teal filmed an episode of the Wheel of Fortune in October, and that episode aired nationwide on Tuesday night. Now, odds are you didn't see it Tuesday night. In Middle Tennessee, the game show is preempted for a Titans football talk show. But the episode was re-aired on WKRN Channel 2 in the wee early hours of Wednesday morning. So unless you set your DVR, you probably didn't catch it then either. Fortunately, new episodes of the game show stream online for a full weekend after their original airing. So, if you'd like to see how she did, you still have a little time to find the Disney Secret Santa episode on Peacock or on Hulu. And though you can certainly find them on Facebook, you get no spoilers here. Now, I don't usually cover sports on this podcast, but when the team completes their season undefeated, that is news, and that is exactly what the Tullahoma High School boys bowling team did on Monday. The girls nearly did it too. They took their first loss of the season in their final match against Lawrence County. Both teams move on to district play on Monday the 8th. And while I'm talking about sports, the Tullahoma Sports Council has announced the 2026 class of inductees to its Hall of Fame. Now, some familiar names on the roster include professional baseball player David Hess, track coach Maurice Shaw, softball coach Gary Barfield, and late coach Milner Carden. The induction banquet will be held on Saturday, January 31st at the D.W. Wilson Community Center, and I look forward to talking to Pat Welsh about this year's event in the very near future. I'll be right back.
Some connections are better than others, like connecting with nature or reconnecting with an old friend, connecting with the ball, and connecting with a cause. At LightTube, our goal is to help you stay connected, not only with lightning-fast internet and local support, but by advocating for those better connections. Stay connected to the people in your life. Sign up for LightTube today.
Welcome back. Now, this week I originally intended to share my interview with Alicia Bush from the Lanham Library. We sat down last week to talk about Tullahoma history as it can be studied through the Oakwood Cemetery. But I will beg for Alicia's pardon as I bump her to next week, because this week, local author Rick Vella stopped by the studio to talk about his children's book, and I want to give everyone time to order a copy for Christmas if they are so inspired. Now, if the name Rick Vella sounds familiar to you on the podcast, that's because when I moved to this new format, an interview with Rick was one of the first segments that I shared from the television archives while I was still building a new guest list. Now, that segment about his book, The Rock Eater of Rutledge Falls, was relevant at the time because a mural had just been installed in Fraser McEwen Park featuring the title character. But at the time of the original interview, Rick was working on a Christmas book, and it's available now, so since we're talking about murals again, and since it's only 3 weeks till Christmas, it seems only fitting to take this opportunity to finally introduce Christmas Rose.
Yeah, I wanted to do a Christmas story forever, and I didn't really want it to be necessarily about Santa Claus, and I didn't really necessarily want it to be about like the nativity scene so much. And so some friends of ours, they had told me about how they had adopted this girl, and they told me the whole story about it, and it was really touching, and I said, hey, you should write a book about that. And so that kind of just rattled in my head for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I thought, Christmas story, an adoption story. And that's kind of where this story
lovely.
evolved from. Yeah.
So I'm assuming Rose is a little girl's name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Christmas Rose. Yeah. She's a little girl, and something exciting happens to her on Christmas. I don't really want to say it all, but you kind of get the idea of where we're going from that. Yeah. And
it's kind of hard with a children's book not to give it away because you've only got so many pages to develop a story anyway, right?
Yes.
So, but you worked with your illustrator again, I'm assuming, for this one?
Yes. Yep, Sarah Andrews. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we did.
So, you think she'll be willing to do another mural for Christmas Rose if this one takes off over the Christmas season?
Maybe. I don't know.
That was a real work for her, wasn't that? Was the first time, I think, coming off of the page or off of a traditional flat artist surface to a mural, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know that she had done that big of a mural before. And so, yeah, I don't know of anybody that's done that. So Tullahoma has so many awesome murals.
Yeah, and they're growing day by day by day. It seems like every time you turn around, there's a new mural in town.
Yes, I love it. And they just did the one behind City Sandwich, and it was a bumblebee, which is the state insect.
Right.
And an iris, which is the state flower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in fact, the white oak acorn is also on that mural, which is our state. I don't believe that was our state tree, but Lyle Russell, I'm going to defer to. I thought the poplar was our state tree, but there may be something else to that we'll have to look into.
Yeah, Lyle Russell, man, he really, I love that guy. He is really involved in a lot of things, and he's a very knowledgeable guy. Yeah, so he would probably.
And for our listeners who don't know him, he is our local arborist, our city forester, who now is our community engagement officer for the city of Tullahoma. So he's got his hand in all kinds of different pies, and did even before he took that position. He's a very, very knowledgeable local guy. And in fact, he has his own podcast for city workers. introducing
Yes.
Tullahoma at Work.
You know, I have seen his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, and he's involved with the birds. He's got his hands in everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he can sing too. I don't know if you knew that or not.
That I did not know.
He sang at the Wobble Gobble, the national anthem.
Oh, I saw a picture of that, but no, I didn't get to hear him.
Yeah, he's just an all-around interesting fella.
As you may still be able to hear, I've been suffering a cold throughout this holiday season, so getting out and about into those early morning frigid events was not on my radar. But congratulations, Lyle, for getting to do that.
Well, I ran that. I didn't expect to run it. I did a sponsorship for it, and they gave me, the tag, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just walk it. Well, all of a sudden, I don't know, something got into me. I just ran. So I ran.
Oh my gosh. Now, I do know my partner in crime, Chris Barstad, he's on the other side of production now, handles a lot of our sporting events. But he is in the P Head building with our partners over there. And so he went down and filmed parts of the Wobble Gobble. He may even have filmed Lyle doing the national anthem. I'm not sure. I know he talked to a lot of the chamber folks while he was down there, though. So, so what's the big event for you now with your books? This is what, the third one? Christmas Rose, third book?
Yes. Yes.
So are you still doing book signings? Are you working on a fourth book? Where are you now in this children's book series?
Okay, wow, there's quite a bit going on. For that mural was a big deal, getting that done.
Yeah.
And really, for Sarah to do, I did a little bit of work. I can't take any credit more than just a little bit, but she just, really focused on that. And so... Yeah, so I have this book. We did a release actually last year is when I released this.
Yeah, I remember that, but we didn't talk about it then. So I thought, wait for this Christmas and we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
now.
why not? Yeah, so as far as like that goes, that was last year, and obviously it's still Christmas, and we want that to be known. But as far as like the next thing I have going on, I am going to be doing a couple readings, and then a friend of mine's doing a show in Bell Buckle. I think it's the 12th of December.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to play a couple songs with her and do a reading there. But as far as like on the author spectrum, I have been working on a couple other books.
I imagine, and this is just a guess, so I could be completely wrong, but I imagine now that we brought the Rock Eater of Rutledge Falls over to Tullahoma proper into Big Springs, there's some kind of a sequel that could spring out of that to go along with the mural. Am I on the right track?
You are. You're reading my mind.
Okay, so how are we getting the Rock Eater with what you can tell us at this point?
So actually, the Arts Council, they're just great. Greg Gressel over there and all the Arts Council have been just big supporters of the arts, and I just really love it.
Yeah.
They had said, hey, maybe you should write another book about the Rock Eater coming to, Rock Creek. And I thought, I never thought about writing this. I wanted it to be a standalone book, actually. I never even crossed my mind to do a sequel. And so then I started thinking, and here we go. How am I going to make this work? And I will say this. So basically, the Rock Eater takes a trip to Rock Creek, and there's a whole...
I mean, of course, because rocks, Rock Creek. Why wouldn't you?
Why would you? Yeah. Well, and they did such a great event there. When they did the release of the mural, it was all this rock-themed stuff. They had rock painting. There was a fellow there that had all these geodes.
Oh, nice.
This guy was I don't know, he just really knew rocks. It was really neat. So as far as that goes, I'm going to be, I've already written a second book.
Nice. So now it's in the illustrator's hand, I'm assuming?
It's in the editor's hand.
In the editor's hand, okay. It's going to be easier for your illustrator this time around, though, since she's already created the character. Now, for those people who maybe either didn't hear the podcast when it was released earlier, tell us a little bit about what that process was like for her to create a Rock Eater just from your imagination.
Well, it was back and forth, and I do have original pictures, and maybe one of these days I'll have to show you those. It was kind of a back and forth. I had obviously some description through the words of the story, and from there it was just back and forth with what if we do this and what if we do that, and I don't know, somehow we just kind of put the two ideas together till we finally were like, we really like this look for him. So yeah, it was. I want to say as simple as that, but obviously there's more work into it, but yeah.
Okay. And that is not the only one. You said you had a couple irons in the fire, right? So are you going back to your original sort of along the lines of the silly situation that made Samuel smile? Or is this a whole new diversion for you?
So there's another story I wrote, and it's already been edited, and obviously I'm waiting. Sarah's been so busy lately with things. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get these done. But I did write this other story about a boy who's scared to get a haircut. It's a short story, and it's just gets right to the point, and it's it actually was based on this is kind of funny. It's based on my nephew Levi from the Rock Eater.
Okay.
This situation happened with him being nervous about getting his hair cut, and so something happened, and it's not exactly what happened the way it is in the book, but it's similar. And so I took him to get his first haircut from an actual barber.
Right.
And he did really well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I think kind of the theme of that story is maybe not letting your extreme fears control you. You know, we need a healthy fear of things, but sometimes we just let things really get us a little too scared, in life.
Spiral those fears a little out of control. And I'm one of those people who lives in the future more than in the past. And there's always, my future is always what terrible thing is about to happen. What my future is always, oh my gosh, I'm worrying about this thing, or who's going to think this, or who's going to do that. And it almost never happens. But it is a form of fear. It's very much a universal feeling.
Sometimes it's important to think about the future. I tend to be like you. I tend to think something around the corner's about to get me. I don't know if it's something from my childhood or what it was, that just maybe some uncertainties. I've tried to psychoanalyze this stuff in myself, like why do these worries come? But you're right. Most of the time it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
And I think someone said that like 90% of the things you worry about never even come to pass,
But they do make great fodder, particularly from a child's perspective, for these children's books. I mean, that's all kinds of fears of firsts that come during that time of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're almost kind of like a sponge or a bowl of soup with just all these things that have influenced us, good or bad, or negative or positive, and then later in life they come out, And so it is really important when you're a kid, or when you have kids, to just make sure you're fueling them with good things, positive things, or things that just help them when they grow. You plant a seed and it just grows. So hopefully you're planting good seeds in their life to manage fear or worry or whatever these things are in life,
Absolutely, absolutely.
And maybe some of these books can help with that.
So well then, on that point, why don't we tell people where they can find them?
So the easiest is just Amazon.
Okay.
That's the big, like Sears. Remember Sears Roebuck? Sears Roebuck. You could order a house, probably a wife. I don't even know. You could order anything. Now Amazon has almost become that, I guess.
That's true, and they even now do send the wish books to your house now at Christmas time, kind of like the Sears wish book used to come. Amazon's even picked up that mantle.
Yeah.
So when they're looking for your books, then we've given them a number of titles, but of course you are on Amazon as Rick Vella, right?
Correct.
Now, has anybody had any trouble leaving off the C and not being able to find you, or is it's pretty easy to find with the algorithm either way, I'm assuming?
I haven't heard anybody have any problems with it. I know there's other Rick Vellas out there.
Okay.
I don't know that there's any that live in Tullahoma.
Easy enough.
So that's pretty easy. So if you type those keywords with the way algorithms are now, you will come across me. Actually, if you Google, that's a funny thing to say, Google me. That's like a very funny thing. It's pretty easy to come right across, my bio page on Amazon. So.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. And they're not going to be expensive books, so you could probably get several, one for every child in your life if you wanted to do that way.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it, though? I mean, I have several nieces and nephews myself. I need to take my own advice and get copies of these books.
Yeah, and I feel like children's books, it'd be nice if they're not expensive, And it does cost money to make these.
Right.
And different sources of publishing and different ways of doing it are going to cost different things. So I've tried to figure out how to make a quality product for as affordable as it can be. Because I don't know. I just feel like children's books are something that so many people would want, and a lot of parents may not have enough money to buy a lot of books. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing to keep in mind. Do you have any control over the pricing of your book on Amazon?
I do to
an extent. You've got paper and you've got to pay your
I mean, I wish I could just give every book away. You know,
Right.
I'd probably give too many away, to be honest with you. But I mean, I just really want kids to have these stories, and you know, books were important to me when I was a kid. You know, especially the stories in them, and then the illustrations and what I don't know. I still have memories of things when I was a kid from writing from the different books that I don't know spoke to me. You know, in whatever way they did for my situation or whatever. You know, so
What other entities around here, for example, the library or the bookshelf, have any of those local entities helped you or supported you and get your book out in front of people?
yes, I'm probably going to forget all the people that have been supportive of it. The bookshelf, Miss Dot, is great. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see Elizabeth Taylor has a new book.
She does.
I'm super excited about going to see that because I want to go get that one, excited for other ones. And the libraries, I've been in Tullahoma Library a couple times. I need to get in there more. Actually, Manchester has been really great. Winchester has been really great. I know we're talking about Tullahoma, but I'm just saying, like, they've all been really great libraries and super supportive of what I'm doing. So, and I'm very grateful for that. So, I'll tell you a little information about this book, which is kind of neat. So, in the back of this book is an illustration of an actual Christmas rose flower.
Nice.
What's neat about this is it's not actually part of the rose family.
Really?
What? It's called the Christmas rose. There's another name for it, and I cannot think of how to pronounce that. But anyhow, the only thing that is funny about this is it's a very toxic flower.
See, I didn't even realize Christmas rose was a real flower. I didn't even realize that was a thing, and it's toxic?
It's a toxic. You shouldn't consume it, and there's like a sap on it that you're not supposed to touch. But no one in Tennessee has to worry about it because this does not grow here in Tennessee.
Okay, that may be why I wasn't aware.
Perhaps, and it only comes out in the depths of winter.
Okay.
Over in like Switzerland and Germany and maybe northern parts of Italy. So
Interesting.
Is that not a neat piece of information?
And that explains why it would get the name Christmas rose, because that's when it is that time of year.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just thought that was a neat thing. When I had wrote this, I don't even remember why exactly I decided Christmas Rose. I just loved that name, and of course the character's name is Rose.
Right.
And then I just thought Christmas rose, and then I thought about the flower, and then all of a sudden I should probably do some research. And then I realized, wait, this is not a flower anybody should be touching because it's toxic, you know. Another thing that's neat about this book is we did kind of like a time period look for it, and it's actually kind of has an 1800s era like feel.
Oh, okay, so it's almost Dickensian is what you're...
Yeah, that could be it. Almost like a... Is it an Oliver Twist kind of?
Right.
This is based in Tennessee. I will say that.
Okay.
The story talks about Tennessee briefly in here. So, but it does have that. Like, I guess it would be that era. I don't know. I always like those vintagey kind of Christmas stories.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
absolutely. I
talking
mean, when you grow up with them, they're sort of what Christmas feels like to you. You know,
Yeah.
very much the whole Scrooge.
Yeah.
You know, what is that? A Christmas Carol. You know, that's part of our Christmas mythology.
You know what was neat? I got put on the cover of Good News Magazine this year.
That's right. I saw that. That's right.
I did not expect that.
Now, how did they come to you, and what did they come to you with an angle?
So Tony and I can't remember everybody. Tony Jariah, she's the one that did the interview and article, and then Brooke did the photography. I got a phone call from Tony, and just what I love about what you do and I love about what they do is like everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And not everybody gets to hear their story, because usually it's, you know, when you think of stories, it's like movies and these famous people. Everybody has a story that's worth hearing, you know.
Yeah.
And so I just love that they're highlighting that, and you're doing the same thing with local people. And so, yeah, he contacted me and just said, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but just, you know, was inspired by, you know, your story and wanted to know if I would be interested in doing an interview for for being in the Good News magazine. And I'm like, yeah, I'm honored. Like, me? And he said, yeah. And so we talked a little bit about, the Rutledge Falls and everything about that, some other things in my life. And yeah, and I did not know that they were going to put me on the cover. They must have been hard up for needing somebody on the cover.
No.
But I will tell you what's funny. On that cover, that day when we took those pictures, it was like when we had the coldest, it was like below freezing for several days. I don't know if you remember that. And if you've ever been to Rutledge Falls, when you go down to the falls, it's actually cooler there.
Right, yes.
So it was so cold that day when we took those pictures. And I don't know. I guess it doesn't look like it on that.
Well,
the pictures.
that's a way to make you look certainly wide-eyed and awake.
Yeah,
You're nice and brisk and cold, sure.
Yeah, there was no sleeping during that. Yeah, so that was kind of really neat. I thought it was just really awesome that that they highlight people and tell their stories, and I was really honored to be able to.
So since you sort of broached that bridge to it, let's say, I know we've talked about this before, but give us a little bit of what that back history is for you with the importance of Rutledge Falls to you.
Ooh, good question. So when I moved here, I moved to Tullahoma 20 years ago, September. So I was like, wow, 20 years ago. And when I first moved here, I always loved outdoors and hiking. And I had my one dog at the time. I was like, we got to take this dog. She got to go do some running around. So I don't remember how I found Rutledge. I do not remember how I found Rutledge Falls. But anyway, I went there. At the time, there wasn't many people that would go to Rutledge Falls, and now it's like hard to go there. You have to go probably during the week and whatever. But I went there and I was I don't know, amazed by the beauty of that falls. And there's other falls that are just very beautiful around this area too. I've actually been kind of doing some little tours. I went up to Fall Creek Falls and Burgess Falls.
Right, yeah.
And there's several others. Eventually I'll get to those. Very beautiful falls and worth going to see for sure. And they don't cost anything to go to them,
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I was walking around there and just, I don't know, I just was so amazed by how rocky the terrain is. And I don't know, the falls just trickled down. And so my one dog, her name was Marley. And I actually wrote some stories about her. But then I found out there was these books about Marley, so I'm like, I can't really do that. I have to change the name. But anyhow, I haven't really published or done anything with those. I just have wrote these stories down. Well, Marley would follow me as I would climb up the waterfalls of Rutledge Falls.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you've been there and you've seen, it's not easy to climb that without slipping.
It's not.
People would watch me and this dog climb up the waterfalls. She'd just climb right up. That dog could climb up a ladder. One time I was doing work on a roof. That dog climbed up a stand-up ladder onto the roof.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was just a wild thing. But anyhow, so that's kind of how I came across Rutledge Falls and just really fell in love with, I don't know, there's something peaceful about being out in the wilderness and seeing that water. Yeah. I don't know. It's just great. I love it.
By the way, the tulip poplar is our state tree. As I mentioned earlier, there is a large oak leaf on the new downtown mural, but despite the association there with the iris and the honeybee, the oak makes no claim to be an official state symbol. But the white oak is a native tree that's important to Tennessee, and the rates of white oak regrowth are dropping. So each fall, the Tennessee Forestry Association invites you to collect and submit acorns as you find them, so that new trees can be planted across the state. Now, the window to submit acorns this year has closed, but if that is something that interests you, you might want to grab your brand new 2026 day planner and mark a collection date for next October. Now, another tree seed that is best collected in the fall is, just like the Christmas rose, toxic if ingested. Now, you wouldn't guess that through the number of Buckeyes that you're likely to see on the Christmas dessert table this year, but peanut butter candies notwithstanding, the Buckeye tree isn't plentiful in Middle Tennessee. We do have a few native species throughout the state, but generally when you think of the Buckeye tree, you think of a different state altogether, because the Buckeye is a state tree, just for the state of Ohio. It is also the title of a sweeping new historical novel by author Patrick Ryan. Buckeye is a dense character study set in post-World War II Ohio, as we'll hear this week from reviewer Susan Campbell.
It revolves around three generations of men. The first one is Everett, who served in World War I and spent the rest of his life writing anti-war letters to whoever president was in office at that time. It affected him so much. His son was Felix, and Felix served in World War II, and he has a great description of Felix being on a boat and the boat being attacked and everybody going in the water, and how Felix had to fight to survive in the water. It's really intriguing the way he described that. And then he also has the other male character, and his name is Cal. And Cal is born with one leg shorter than the other slightly. So that affected his ability to be able to serve in the war. So he works in a hardware store. So that sort of sets the tone for how these characters marry and raise children, and they have secrets. So it's really a good picture of how the country was in this time period. Felix is secretly gay, but he can't say that, so he marries a woman who grew up in an orphanage, and they both keep secrets from each other. And Margaret can't figure out why her husband's not attracted to her. And Cal is the other main character, and he marries a woman who can, is sort of like a medium. She can see and hear voices from the dead and stuff like that. So they both have sons, and with the third generation, the sons interact with each other, and the third generation son named Skip ends up in Vietnam. So you've got this whole novel that talks about it's how the 20th century was so consumed and made up of wars, from World War I to World War II to Vietnam to Korea to all of that stuff and how it affected everybody. And it's really, really great. I mean, the characters are interesting, and I would highly recommend it.
Does anybody kind of stand out as a central character, or is it just these character studies are just parallel lives leading to this? Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is, because you've got Felix and Cal, the two main male characters, but then you also have almost as much time devoted to Margaret, the wives, and Becky, and then it shifts into the children, Skip and Tom, who have a secret. But it switches back and forth, so you don't have one particular character overtaking all the rest of them.
Okay, and now since these people served in all these different wars, you would think the title would have something more to do with the generational tie, not the state of Ohio. So what is the significance of making Buckeye the title?
Well, one of the grandsons, or the youngest generation, is nicknamed Buckeye. His nickname was Buckeye. And I think also it's because Ohio is this Central America, all-American kind of state, and I think this particular novel was trying to address Americana in the 20th century.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think that must be the reason why it's named. I was wondering why they named it Buckeye, but then on in the book, one of the kids' nicknames was Buckeye, but he wasn't the central character, so that makes it interesting. But I think it must have something to do with the country and, how we were in that particular time period, and how Ohio, after the war, industries came in there and all of that kind of stuff. So,
fair enough. All right, so Patrick Ryan, have we heard of him before? This isn't a debut, is it?
No, he has written a lot of short stories, and he's worked in the Best American Short Stories anthologies and things like that. He's associate editor of a newspaper.
Oh, well, there you go.
In Ohio.
Now, there at the end, Susan and I shared a laugh because we have both worked as the editor of a newspaper. I became the managing editor of the Tullahoma News after Susan's retirement in 2018, and I moved up again shortly before I was invited to join Light Tube Television to anchor Tullahoma 6 News the following year. Now, all of that has morphed into the podcast you're listening to now. Buckeye was a Read with Jenna pick in September, but what caught my eye on the cover of that book were the recommendations of two other notable authors, Ann Patchett and Ann Napolitano. In November, Buckeye was named Amazon's #1 book of the year for 2025. And year-end book lists are certainly proof that the year 2025 is coming to a swift holiday end. So, with that, let's take a look at what's happening. If you're listening to this podcast on the weekend it drops, boy, this is a busy one. Enjoy the Grand Marshal reception, the parade, the Jingle Mingle, the Trees of Christmas, Breakfast with Santa, the Chris Kindle Market, and the Tour of Homes. Now, if you need more information about any of that, back up an episode. It's all there. But moving forward, the city of Manchester will bring ice skating back to Coffee County this holiday season. The ice skating rink will return to the Manchester Recreation Center on December 12th. The entry fee will be $5 for a 1-hour session, and your skate rental is included. While you're at the rec center, check out their annual Trees of Christmas. At 5:30 on the 12th, join the Hands-On Science Center for Family Science Night, an evening of holiday experiments for children and adults. Admission is $5 for members, $10 for non-members, and you can register online at hosc.org. At 7 o'clock on the 12th, South Jackson will open its winter musical Holiday Inn for a 2-weekend run. Friday and Saturday shows start at 7, Sunday matinees start at 2:30, and tickets start at $18. Tickets are available online at southjackson.org. On Saturday the 13th, podcast guest Heather Williams will be in Manchester for her monthly Drawing Together event. The December art class begins at 1 o'clock at the Beans Creek Winery. All levels are welcome and all classes are free. Find out more on her website, drawingtogether.com. The Tullahoma Civic Choir returns to Grace Baptist Church again this year for the annual Christmas concert. The music starts at 6 o'clock on Saturday the 13th, but you'll want to be there early to claim a spot because seating is limited. The choir is 70 voices strong, and the concert is presented to the public free each year. On Sunday the 14th, the Highland Rim chapter of the Compassionate Friends will host its 49th annual worldwide candle lighting at the Church of Christ at Cedar Lane. Anyone who has lost a child, grandchild, or sibling is encouraged to arrive by 6:30 to set up photos. Candles will be lit at 7 p.m. local time at locations around the globe to honor the memory of children who were gone too soon. On Tuesday the 16th, visit South Jackson once again to watch the movie It's a Wonderful Life on the big screen. Your $10 ticket gets you an order of popcorn, a drink, and admission to watch the holiday classic in the theater's new plush seats. And that's what's happening. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Talking Tullahoma. If you've got a story or an event that you'd like to share on the podcast, call and leave me a message at 571-7186 or email news@lighttube.net. I'll be back soon with more of what makes Tullahoma tick. Until then, you can listen to Talking Tullahoma on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. New episodes drop on Thursdays. Please like and subscribe. For the video version, follow us on YouTube. Just search for TUA LightTube. I'm Kelly Lepchinsky. Catch you next week.